Right now, though, let's take a little trip across the world, because Ben Clatworthy is here, and after the debacle of the National Air Traffic Control System collapsed just the other day, happened just before the end of this show, I think on Tuesday, or was it Monday? I think it was Monday. Mayhem still continues to reign. Hundreds of thousands of people still kind of displaced. Ben, what's the latest on people's travel plans? I see some people have been told you might have to stay where you are for about a week.
Yes, I was looking at flights this morning from popular holiday destinations back to all London airports, and give or take, everything is showing as sold out or fully booked until Saturday or Sunday now. If there are slithers of availability anywhere, the prices are ridiculously high, which the airlines have done on purpose in a bid to try and stop people from... It's to stop people from booking. They are trying, because they have so many people to get home that are displaced. They are artificially increasing prices to try and prevent new customers getting into the system. So for them, it's a hellish situation, but also for the tens of thousands of people still stuck abroad, it's a waiting game, which is fine if you've been looked after by your airline, but if you haven't, it can be a very distressing time.
Well, I think for an awful lot of people, there simply isn't the kind of bandwidth to look after them, because an awful lot of holiday destinations have got, you know, one lot in, one lot out of a hotel, so there aren't many spaces in hotels. People are sleeping at airports on the floors and stuff like that with kids, because they're presumably hoping to get back in time for the start of school, hoping to get back in time for them not to be fired from their job, because they've now been away for longer than they said. There's all kinds of complications. If you've got a dog in or a cat in a kennel or something like that, I mean, it's horrendous.
It is, and I think what the airlines are saying is they've been block booking hotels as fast as they possibly can. However, and I'm still getting messages from people who say they can't get through to their airline. If you cannot get through and you do have the funds to be able to do it, go ahead and book yourself into an airport hotel or a nearby hotel and claim it back afterwards. You will be entitled. The airlines are very keen to stress that anybody that makes their own arrangements that is displaced because of this will get their money back. It's the key
That's if
thing.
You've got the money as well, though, isn't it?
But that's if you've got the money. But what that will do is, if people are those who are able to do so, it will, in theory, help free up the phone lines so that people who do really need, you know, and there will be families of 4 and 6 who cannot afford to be booking 2 double bedrooms in airport hotels, and prices are high. Is the busiest, still the peak summer travel period.
I understand a lot of people who are in France have decided just to give up on the flights and drive back. Presumably that's also problematic, because you've got to rent a car, which you might not be able to bring to Britain. You might have to just drive it to Calais or drive it to wherever you're going from, and can take the rest of the way as a pedestrian.
Well, one of our sports reporters was trying to get back from the World of the Athletics in Budapest, and he said he managed to get himself to Amsterdam, where he tried to hire a car, and actually now, after particularly post-Brexit movement of goods issues, it's very difficult to not many companies will allow you to hire a car and take it.
Well, most rental cars, you could never take them anywhere outside of the country.
And although it's got harder because of imports and so on, so there's double problems there, and it really is for people a very horrible situation. It's very easy to sit there and say, well, book yourself into a hotel and find the local bar and go and sit in it, but for some people, they're not being paid. Their children need to go back to school, and ultimately there's little comfort in the fact that we now know that it really was, as we reported Monday into Tuesday, that it was a single incorrect flight plan that was filed into the air traffic control system, which, although they claim did its correct job because for safety reasons in shutting down, there's still got to be questions asked.
Well, you have
got
to say that. I mean, I listened to Martin Rolfe, who's the chief exec, talking this morning to the BBC, actually, and he was basically saying it's wrong to say that, you know, the whole system collapsed, because it was only a small part of the system that collapsed, and that was supposed to happen because it was a piece of data that the computers didn't understand. But surely there must be a better way, rather than shutting down the whole operation, or having the result of shutting it down for however long they do it for. And one of the criticisms, apparently, that's been levelled at it is that most other air traffic control systems have more flexibility, they have more room in them, because apparently this one, the NATS, as they call it, down in Hampshire, only books in for 4 hours. So basically you've got the next 4 hours of flights in the system, and then you have to input the next 4 hours and the next 4 hours, and so it's a kind of a constant update rather than doing it, as some do, say, for 12 hours.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and those are the questions that need to be asked, and there is the report coming which hopefully will actually shed some light on what happened, although I was reading a report from a similar incident in a different incident, but that caused a similar outage in 2014, and it's written in such complete jargon that it's impossible for anybody that hasn't got a degree in air traffic controlling to understand. So we hope that at least the executive summary of this report that they says will be delivered on Monday will have enough information in it that layman people can understand what on earth has gone on and what can be done to make sure it doesn't happen again, because that's the important thing. And,
indeed.
And I thought it was interesting in that same interview this morning to the BBC that he said normally the UK air traffic system is the envy of the world, and I thought, well, it really
like
is
the NHS is
not going to be the time. Then I don't think any other country is going to be envying the situation that UK
but again,
airlines are in.
The way that these things are explained by those in charge of them when they mess up is that, it's not as bad as you think. Well, actually, it is as bad as we think, because people are stuck still 3 days later, and they'll be stuck, in another 4 days. You still won't be able to get them back, and they don't appear at the moment, Nats, to be bearing any of the brunt of the sort of compensation or the expense that the airlines have been put to.
They're not, and the airlines have found out in the last 24 hours that because of the way the legislation surrounds NATS, that they won't be able to reclaim any cost from them. So while passengers aren't owed compensation because it's outside of the airline's control, the whole incident is costing them millions of pounds, not least in hotel bookings and having their crew in the wrong place, but also all the time that their aircraft were parked on foreign stands where you pay. An aircraft only makes money when it's in the air, and they've lost millions and millions of pounds, and they will get nothing back too. And yes, NATS certainly, as we've seen so far, no offer to put their hand in the pocket and share any of the liabilities. Airlines also furious that their fees went up by 28% in the last control period, and yes, this is the service that they get.